Thanks very much indeed. And could I start by congratulating the conference organisers. I think this is one of the world's great forums. It's more down to earth than Davos, and it's much less regimented than Bow. So good on India and well done. The first thing I want to do is to stress the benefits of freer trade. Between 1990 and the start of the pandemic, the percentage of the world's population living in absolute poverty dropped from over 30% to under 10%. The percentage of the world's population that lacked access to safe drinking water dropped from over 30% to under 10%. More wealth was created in that 30-year period than in the previous 30,000 years. These were the best times in human history, and they owed a great deal to freer trade in a globalised world. Now, I like to think that as Prime Minister, I did my own bit to cultivate that. On my watch, Australia finalised free trade deals with our three biggest partners, with China, with Japan, and with South Korea. And the deal we did with China was China's first with a G20 economy. More recently, as a special trade envoy, I helped with the India-Australian ECTA, the Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement, India's first deal in a decade, its best ever deal, and a deal which will mean that 90% of Australian exports to India enter tariff and quota free, and 100% of India's exports to Australia enter tariff and quota free. But there is a downside as well as a huge upside to freer trade. Freer trade makes everyone richer. But if it really is freer, it also makes countries more equal. It makes all countries richer, but it makes poorer countries richer faster. And because of its emergence from Maoist isolation into the world economy, over the past 30 years or so, 500 million Chinese have moved from the third world to the middle class. A wonderful development. In some ways, the greatest advance in human well-being in all history. In the process, China has become an economic superpower. And it's also now becoming a military one too. In the process, Western countries acquired super cheap consumer goods. We also severely hollowed out our manufacturing base. So, of course, there is a strategic dimension to trade. When President Obama, back in 2011, announced what he called America's tilt to the Indo-Pacific, the Trans-Pacific Partnership was the economic component of that strategic shift. The Trans-Pacific Partnership was supposed to build trade and build trust between like-minded countries. And at about the same time as President Obama announced the Trans-Pacific Partnership, China announced its RCEP, or Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, and that was aimed at locking regional economies into a web dominated by China. Now, it's a real pity that US domestic politics scuttled the United States' participation in the Trans-Pacific Partnership. And if I may say so, it's to the great credit of Prime Minister Shinzo Abe that the TPP was in fact resuscitated without the United States. And it would be to everyone's advantage today if the United States joined the TPP TPP. It would also be to everyone's advantage if Taiwan was admitted, and indeed also the United Kingdom, which would give the TPP a global reach. On the other hand, understanding China's ploy, it's good that under Narendra Modi, India pulled out of the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership at the 11th hour. So yes, there is a strategic dimension to trade, and as the world becomes more polarised, the strategic dimension to trade is going to get even more important. I want to make two final points. One reason why previous Australian governments failed to conclude trade deals that they said they desperately wanted was because they wanted those trade deals to be about everything, about labour standards, about product standards, about environmental standards, as opposed to simply about an economic partnership. So if we want to do trade deals, please, let's not overcomplicate them. The second and final point I want to make, perhaps the most important point, is that despite the very good trade deal that my government did with the Beijing government, China weaponised trade against us as soon as Australia had the temerity to ask for a full, independent and impartial international investigation into the Wuhan virus. So while exporting Australian coal, Australian iron ore and Australian gas in massive quantities to China has certainly made us richer, it has also, we have to accept this, made China a superpower, and right now a very challenging superpower. So, if we want to avoid making our strategic challenges stronger, it's best to have freer trade with the countries that we know we can rely upon to be our friends. Thanks very much indeed.